Thanks, Rebecca. And thanks, Lisa and Daryl, for the introduction. I'm going to give an update on DFdiscover, sort of focusing more on our product and our tools that we make available. And I wanted to start with an overview of all the tools. We've certainly evolved over the years in terms of what applications, what functionality we provide with DFdiscover, and it's kind of changed year by year. And so I wanted to present all of it together in one image so we can all be on the same page. So we kind of have two different streams of applications in DFdiscover. So the top part, the web and mobile apps for data collection and review. So these are API client applications. So these are applications that connect to the DFdiscover server using our API, which we call DFWS. The WS stands for Web Services. And so these are all browser-based or mobile applications that are for collecting the data, cleaning the data, reviewing the data. We have DFWeb, which is our browser-based tool for EDC, DFCollect for online and offline EDC, DFEngage is for ePro, and we have DFSources for source document submission. And we also have a consent tool that kind of lives outside the DFdiscover universe called DFConsent. And so that connects to the DFdiscover server through an integration, but it lives outside of the DFdiscover application as a whole. And the bottom part of the screen shows our desktop applications. And so these are more the applications for the power users, like most of you here at DFUG today. DF Explorer is probably one that most of you are all very familiar with, but we also have DF Setup and DF Admin for study setup, for user and study administration. We also have the Acceptance Test Kit, which is a special application for testing your installation of the software to make sure it's working as expected if you're self-hosting it. And we also have two special apps for paper-based studies. So if you're doing a hybrid or paper-based study, DFSend and DFBarcode are additional tools. And then we have sort of the extra special superpower user tools, the command line programs that also come with the main desktop application installation package that are really useful for scheduling and automating actions in bulk in a way that you wouldn't want to do it through the user tools. So that's a nice overview of all of the products. And next I wanted to sort of reflect on where we have come with the software since we last met at DFUG last September in 2021. So in late 2021, we released a few bug fixes for DFWeb and DFCollect. And a notable change in January 2022 was including e-signature support in both DFWeb and DFCollect. In May of 2022, we officially released DFSources. I mentioned that's a source document collection app. And so what's really special about that is that you can scan your source documents on your phone. You can identify what data record, what study that image belongs to, and you can also redact that image as well as certify that it is a copy of the original. And so you can do all that as you submit that source document to the database. So if you're used to collecting source documents with shuttle forms or attaching them within DF Explorer or DFWeb or DFCollect, but having to redact them or certify them ahead of time, you can do all that within DFSources. And then in September of 2022, we released DFdiscover 2022 version 5.5.0. And some of the highlights of what we released in that version were some enhancements to our eCRFs. So we now have tables, instructions, as well as HTML formatting support that's available within DF Explorer. We also made some great improvements to the page history in all the tools. We have a much more simplified and streamlined view that you can view within the tools, as well as include in your subject packages when you archive the database at the end of the study. And we also implemented the change password option within DFWeb and DFCollect. And these are just some of the things that we have included in 5.5. We made a lot of big changes in DFWeb and DFCollect as well. We did a webinar in September, so if you weren't able to attend that, that is recorded and available from our website if you want to get some details on what we changed in that version. And then in October, we released a patch release for 5.5 to make some updates for both the server side as well as the client applications. And then coming soon, we are planning to release the next minor version of DFdiscover, version 5.6.0, in early December. And so that's in the works right now. I'm going to give a little bit more detail about what we're planning to include in this release. I'm going to give you a sneak peek right now, but I'm also going to go into a bit more detail in the roadmap planning session later on today. And we're also planning an update to DFengage, where we're updating the password expiry handling and adding a new option for viewing the submission status of your surveys. So those two changes will be coming before the end of the year. And one of the major changes that's coming in 5.6 is some changes in DFweb, both under the hood and in the user interface. And before I give you a little sneak peek of how DFweb will change in 5.6 later this year, I wanted to kind of go over how far we've come with DFweb, where we started, and how it's going so far. So it was originally released back in early 2019 with DFdiscover 2018. And it started off as a really simple data capture application in the browser. And over time, we added things like edit checks, we added CRF backgrounds, we updated the user interface so that it works well on tablets as well as on larger screens, because we want people to be able to use the application across multiple devices. We added two-factor authentication for additional security. We added lookup tables for Bedra and Houdrug coding and other coding and lookup purposes. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we added e-signature functionality as well to DFweb earlier this year. And in 5.6, we added a new queries view in DFweb. So sites are now able to see the list of all their outstanding queries, as well as review any resolved and pending queries all in a separate view and go into their subject binders and resolve those queries through that list. We also added tasks as well as support for all the validation levels and modes within DFweb. So the tasks that are defined in DFexplore, where you're selecting specific types of data to be reviewed or validated, those can all be reviewed and within DFweb. And all the validation levels are now supported as well. And we added page history as well. So DFweb, now you can see all the changes to the data that have happened directly within the app. So here's a quick look at what DFweb will look like in 5.6. So on the left, you can see we have refreshed the look of the login screen. And on the right, you can see we've refreshed sort of the overall look, the navigation, and the landing page of the website. So when you first log in, you'll see the list of subjects, or the list of sites and the subjects at those sites. And we've added sort of a high-level view of the data quality at each of the sites so that you can see the number of subjects that have clean data out of all of the subjects at that site, as well as the total overall across all sites. And there's a few other changes that I'll talk about a little bit more coming to DFweb, as well as to everything in DFdiscover in 5.6. And you might be wondering why I'm talking so much about DFweb. So in case you're wondering that, our goal is really to continue to build DFweb over time in order to have it be a replacement for DFexplore for as many users as possible. It won't replace all functionality. It's not going to replace a lot of the paper-based study functionality, but for EDC, we'd love for the majority of users to be using DFweb rather than DFexplore. And why is this? One of the key reasons is DFweb doesn't require any installation. Since you just access it through your web browser, using that will really help avoid any barriers that you have for downloading or installing DFexplore. And so we know a lot of sites have limitations on what they can install on their computers at work. And so this will really reduce the burden that they have both for initially installing DFexplore when they start a study, as well as you upgrade, installing updates to DFexplore over time. So the goal is really to minimize the amount of work both at the site side as well as yourselves at the sort of the administrative site for getting those sites started, as well as getting them upgraded to new versions. And the other great thing with DFweb is that it's suitable for various devices and screen sizes. So whether you're using a desktop application, a laptop, a tablet, even a mobile phone, DFweb is responsive and the design will continue to work and you're able to access that functionality even if your device size is smaller. And that's not true with DFexplore. So it gives people a lot more flexibility. So as we consider how we will continue updating functionality in DFweb, we wanted to get some insights from you on what most important features there are in DFexplore that you want the end users, so site staff, monitors, sponsor representatives, what features are most important to them. So you might recall we did a survey back in June that asked a number of different questions, and two of these questions the results are shown here. So you can see in red and orange is very important and somewhat important, and in light blue and dark blue is not important and not sure. So this is just a snippet of some of the views and the functionality in DF Explorer, but you can see there's not really any clear area where it's like, no, that's not important. We don't need this in DF Web, or we don't really use this functionality in DF Explorer. It's pretty consistent across all the different features. So we know we have quite a lot of new features to add to DF Explorer, to DF Web in order to replace DF Explorer, but that's the path that we're heading down. And also from the user survey, we got a lot of great ideas from you. We really appreciate the time that you all took to answer the questions that we had and to provide your additional thoughts and feedback. And so we now have a repository where we save all these great ideas, and we just have so much to work with and so many things that we look forward to implementing in the software. In the roadmap planning session later today, I'm going to just take 10 ideas and share some more details on them and get your input on how important these different ideas are to you, because we really want to take your feedback, take all the brains and all the passion in this community to help us inform what we work on in the future. So make sure you come to the roadmap planning session to hear more about that. And I wanted to thank the software team. It's really great to work with this group of people. It looks like a small group, but we get so much work done. It's awesome. And there are other people who are not shown here that contribute to design work, to testing, to documentation. And it's really great how much work this team gets done. So all the recognition to this group of people.